Hey guys, welcome back. So for today's video, like I promised last time, I'm going to be showing you guys how to work in a round. And to start this off, we're going to make something called a magic circle. There are a few different ways to do this. I'll just show you the way that I find to be easiest. So what you want to do is you start by taking your piece of yarn, and again, just like before, you want the end of your yarn in your right hand and then the rest of the yarn in your left hand here. Okay. And then just like with the beginning stitch, we're going to take the yarn from our left hand and just put it over our right, the yarn from our right, so that we have a loop. Okay? Now, this is where it gets different. So we're going to take our hook and we're going to put it through that loop that we've just made. And then we're going to take the yarn from our left hand and we're going to grab it. We're not going to pull it all the way through like we do with the beginning slip stitch. We're just going to pull a little bit of it through so it kind of wraps around the loop that we have here. And then what we want to do is we take the yarn that's still in our left hand here and we're going to grab it with our hook. We're going to wrap it around and grab it, and then we're going to pull it through that little loop that we've made on top here, like so. And then you're just going to pull a little bit tighter to keep it firm. And now what you want to be careful is you have this little bit of yarn that's wrapped around your hoop there. You want to keep that there because you want to be making stitches around both of these. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab that in our hands to keep them both together. And you're going to grab the bulk of the yarn in your left hand as well. And then you might need to adjust this because you have to hold it in a way where you can make sure you're stitching around it and you're keeping it fairly taut because you don't want it to be too loose. Okay, so you take your hook from your right hand and you want to go back into the main part of the big loop here. And you want to go up, grab the yarn from the other side, pull it up and around. So then you have two loops on your hook. And then you'll take that same yarn, wrap it around again. And this is just like a single crochet stitch, and then you just pull it through those two loops. So you're basically making single crochet stitches around this big loop that you've made. And remember, you want to be going around both pieces of yarn, so the tail as well as the loop. So you're going around both of them, grabbing the yarn from the other side, pulling it down from below to above the loop. And then you're wrapping your yarn around your hook again, and you're pulling it through both of those loops, and then just tighten it. You can just pull this just to give it make it a little bit tighter. Okay, so now I have two stitches on here. What I tend to do is I tend to start with 6 for the magic circle. It's usually a pretty good number to start with, but it all depends on what you're making. For today though, we'll just start with 6. So we have 2 on there already. So we'll go in again, go into the circle, go up, and grab the yarn, pull it back under and through, so you have 2 loops on your hook, then wrap it around your hook again, and then pull it through those 2 loops. 3, I'll just show you one more time. So again, you go through the big loop that you made, and go up, and grab the yarn from the other side, pull it back under and through, then take that yarn again and wrap it around, and pull it through those 2 loops. There we go. So that's 4, so I'll just do the last here a little bit more quickly. 1 and 2. Okay, so now we have 6 single crochet stitches on our loop here. And now what you want to do, because this is what we need the little tail for here. This is why it's important, because you take that little tail and all you have to do is you pull it. And this pulls it into a nice tight little circle. Whoop. There we go. But now the circle isn't complete yet, because as you can see, there's still a little bit of a gap between here and there. So to finish up that gap, what you want to do is you look at it this way, and again, just like when you do single crochets, there's a V on top of each one. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your crochet hook, you're going to go across that gap into the very first V that's on the other side. You're going to go through the bottom of that V. So just like before, there's like the little gap between the V and the rest of the stitch. So you go through that. You grab your yarn, you pull it through from underneath the V. So then you have 2 loops on here now. But then we're doing the slip stitch like I showed you before, where you just pull it through the loops that's on your hook as well. So you just pull it right through both. And that makes it a nice, tight little circle. So yeah, this is great if you're making toys, if you're making hats, or anything like that, where you need to work in a circle. So yeah, then you just work from there. Now, you want to be getting progressively bigger. So if you were to just go into each one once, it would just stay that same size and would just become like a long cylinder as you're crocheting it. But what we want to do is we want to make it continuously bigger until it's big enough for what we want. So what you want to do, so you take your crochet hook. So this is the one that you did the slip stitch in. So you don't want to start in that one here. You want to start in the next V. So we take your crochet hook, and just like before, we go underneath the V through the just below it, just beneath the V. We grab the yarn from the other side and we pull it back through, and then as always we yarn over our hook and then we pull it through those 2 loops. So oftentimes in patterns it'll tell you to do more than 1 crochet stitch into a spot that you're already working in. So this is called an increase. And what you're basically doing is then instead of just doing 1 stitch for each V, you're going to be doing 2 in each V. So you're going to go in that same V you just did a stitch in, grab yarn from the other side, and then wrap the yarn around and pull it through those 2 loops. So as you can see, it's already gotten bigger. And what you're going to do is for this whole round here, you're going to be putting 2 single crochets into each V. And this will increase the size dramatically. So I'm just going to finish up here. I'll show you once more. And then I'll finish it up. So you take your hook, you go into the next V, you grab the yarn, and you pull it back through, wrap the yarn over again, and pull it through those 2 loops. Okay? And then you can kind of see where the hole is right there, and you're just going to go right back into there, right into that same V, grab the yarn, pull it through, wrap the yarn around, and pull it through those 2 loops. Alright, so I'll just finish up the rest of it there and then we'll get right back to you. Okay, and by the end of it, you should be able to count 12 V's all the way around, because we started with 6 and then we put 2 in each stitch, so that doubles it to 12 stitches. Now for working it around, this is when using stitch markers will really help, because all you have to do is just put a stitch marker in the stitch that at the beginning of your round, and that way you don't have to keep count all the way. All you have to do is keep track of how many stitches you're doing in each one instead. And then this way you'll know when you've gotten to the end of the round without having to keep an eye on it. Now I prefer to do it without the stitch markers, but like I said, for a beginner it's a very good idea to use a stitch marker. Okay, so that it has increased it by 1 size. And now for the next one we're going to do it a little bit differently. So in the first one we're just going to do just a regular single crochet stitch, so we're not going to increase it in this first one here. We're just going to insert, wrap around, and pull through the loops. And then in the next one, we'll increase it by 2. And then again, this one will be 1, this one will have 2, this one will have 1, and this will have 2, and so on. And so this is what you essentially do for each round up. So for the one after that, you do 2 regular, and then in the third one, you'll increase it. And then 2 regular, and then increase, and then 2 regular, and then increase. And then the one after that, you do 3 regular, and then increase, and so on. Like I said, there is no right or wrong way to do that, because it all depends on what kind of shape you want to get. The more gradual you are in your increasing, though, the more consistent it will look. But if you want to make it where it has like different shapes throughout, you can choose to increase it by more, you can choose to increase it by less. And it's all about the feel. But when you're starting off, you'll probably be following patterns, so it'll just tell you how many to increase for each round. And now something else to show you is something called decreasing. So this is when you have it to a certain size and you're happy with that, but now you want to make sure it doesn't get any bigger, or you want to shrink the size. So what you'll do is you'll take your crochet hook, you'll go into the first, or underneath the first V, you'll grab the yarn and pull it through, and then with that, unlike regular single crochet stitch where you yarn over and pull it through, you don't want to do that yet. Instead, you take your hook and you go under the next V right next to it. You'll go through and you'll grab the yarn again and pull it back through. So now you have 3 loops on your hook, and now you'll take your yarn, you'll wrap it around your hook, and you will pull it back through all 3. And this will take away one of your stitches. This will shrink it slightly. And like I said, you can do it in each one around, and when you do, it'll become much smaller. Or you can choose, like with the increase, you can make it gradual. So you can do 1 regular stitch and then decrease the next 2 stitch, and then 1 regular and then decrease the next 2. It all depends on what kind of shape or what kind of size you want to get. So I'll just show you this again here. So to do the decrease, you will go into the first V, first stitch. You'll grab the yarn from the other side and you'll pull it back through, and then you'll take your hook and you'll go right into the very next V there. You'll grab your yarn, you'll pull it back through, so you have 3 loops on your hook. And then you'll wrap the yarn around your hook and you'll pull it through those 3 loops, and then you'll give it a little tug just to tighten it. And as you can see, it's starting to form into like a cone shape. This is because it's becoming smaller, and this is great for especially when I'm making arms for toys. Like this here is already starting to form the shape of like a teddy bear arm. And so what you do is you decrease it to the approximate size that you want, and then you just keep going around in regular stitches until it's the length that you want, and this will keep it the same size as you've decreased it to. So I can actually just show you that here. So I'll do 1 more decrease into the next one. Okay, put through those 2 stitches, and then you wrap around, and then you pull it back through those 3. Okay, so this is a pretty good size. And so then, as I make just regular stitches around, just do this quick here. Yeah, sometimes it happens a lot where your hook just kind of slips out of the loop. You just got to put it right back in. Okay. And as you can see, here we go. So yeah, so now as I'm going around, it's just going to stay that same size that I've decreased it to. And you just keep going around and around until it's the length that you want it to be. And then of course, if you're making a toy, you want to be sure to putting stuffing in it as you go along, because the longer it gets, the harder it is to make sure the stuffing is evenly distributed throughout the arm or whatever part that you're making. So that's a tip for if you're wanting to get into making toys. Whenever you're making like the parts like the tails or the arms or even a head, you want to be constantly, when you have at least enough, like a little divot like this, you just want to be constantly putting stuffing in there, about like I'd say like every inch that you make. This way you'll know that the stuffing is evenly distributed throughout it, so there won't be any dips in it or parts that look like they've been squished in. So well, I hope you enjoyed today's video of how to make a magic circle and work in the round. In the next video, I'm going to show you another way to work in a round that doesn't use a magic circle and actually uses what we learned in the first video of making single crochets and chains. Until next time though, be sure to like or leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see any of the other things I've made, feel free to visit my Facebook page, which I'll leave down below. And thank you guys for following, and I'll see you next time. Bye!